Hello, YouTube. I'm Vince White. I am an employment attorney. Somehow, some way, an employment attorney for, I guess, 13, 14 years now. I don't really know. And we are answering publicly posted questions on YouTube, getting folks the answers they need from an employment attorney. People have a lot of questions, it turns out. And we have YouTube user She-Wolf here, which is a cool YouTube username. And she asked a question on our video entitled, "My attorney refused to do depositions, said he wants to surprise the witnesses on the stand." Not okay. And She-Wolf asked, she actually has two posts here, and there's some, I'll just read them both, I guess, into the record. She-Wolf says, "Hopefully they have better luck than I did. Long story short, my ambulance chaser got paid and I got nothing. LOL. I knew I was screwed when my lawyer came walking down the stairs of his office to the conference room where we were doing the depositions with his jacket off, tie off, and his dress shirt unbuttoned to where you could see the top of his t-shirt. He then walked right past me and shook the hand of my employer, and they started talking about fishing in freaking Florida. Mind you, we live in Washington State. Anyways, I kind of got the last laugh because my stupid advisor, I like that, your stupid advisor, who puts me through hell because I am gay, injured me in the process, and I did win my retirement and pension case with a different lawyer. The owner sold out after my case, and the new owners demoted and fired the stupid advisor. My stupid advisor, who was also a fisherman, has to work another 30 years while I'm still sitting on the river bank fishing. Ain't karma a bitch?" Good for you. Good for you. She both goes on to ask, curious question, "Is it usual practice for a lawyer to turn to the victim in front of the other attorneys, the owner of the business being sued, and the people being deposed and ask, 'What do you want me to ask them?' I was absolutely flabbergasted when he did it." Okay, so to answer your question, no, you would never do that in front of the other parties, right? The deponent or the defendants or the counsel or anything, right? You wouldn't even really do it in front of the court reporter. Now, I will say that I do this, or that we tend to do this. Like, we'll ask all the questions that we want, right? We know what we want, but we'll often pull the client aside and be like, "Okay, so we have now been going for 6 hours in this deposition. We have the information that we want for our case. What else would you like us to ask?" Because we might have like 2 hours left in this deposition that we could ask more questions, right? And if those questions are relevant, and that's if they're relevant, if they're meaningful in some way, you can tell me why you want me to ask those questions. And if those questions are not just meant to harass or like be acrimonious, if they're not just nasty questions, right? We'll tend to ask those questions. So I don't think it's crazy to go through and ask all of our questions that we know we want. We make a list of what we want to get out of a deponent, and then turn to you in a private room, in a private setting, and say, "Hey, what else would you like us to ask?" That is actually fine with me. It sounds like that's not what happened. It sounds like this attorney may have come in unprepared, may not have had any questions, and may have just turned to you in front of everybody like, "Yeah, what do you want me to ask?" Which is insane and ridiculous. The other thing I'll say is sometimes people will come to us and be like, "All right, I need you to post 30 people." And we say, "Okay, sure. Give us a list and tell us what we're looking to get from each person." And they'll say, "No, I'm not going to do that." Okay, well then we think that 8 of your 30 people are meaningful to this case, right? And the client will be like, "No, you know what you're talking about. All 30. I want all 30 depositions." Like, okay, that's a conversation. Again, give us the list. Tell us what you want from these other 22 people that you want us to depose. Like, what are we trying to get? Why are we doing this? And the client will be like, "Well, no." Or they will give you the list, but the list will be like, "So-and-so leaves early." Okay. I don't care that so-and-so leaves early. It probably doesn't have anything to do with your discrimination case, right? Like, or so-and-so fakes his time card. Okay. Does that harm you? Or does it harm the employer? Like, why are we don't care. That's not part of your discrimination or workplace sexual harassment case, right? So like, there's definitely people where when we're talking about who to depose, I'll be like, okay, Tell me what you want me to ask this person. Tell me why this is relevant. Pitch me on why this individual matters. Because if you can, we will absolutely depose this person. We want to, at all stages, add value to the case and reduce risk, right? But it is very common for people to just like, no, we're going to do 150 depositions and we're going to 8 hours each for everybody. First off, the court's not going to give you that. Like you have to tell the court to some extent like why these people need to be posed. And second off, no. Just no. You got there has to be a reason. There's got to be a logic. You have to be advancing your case. You have to be adding value, reducing risk. Like there's reasons why you would have the conversation as like what are we going to ask these witnesses when we depose them? That's normal. Doing it in front of the other side or doing it because the attorney has not prepped properly, those are absolutely unacceptable in every single way. And I responded to She-Wolf in text and I just said there are so many bad attorneys in the world, right? Like it sounds like her attorney was just a garbage human, right? And that is common. Like I know attorneys who actively like harm clients and take their money and don't help them, right? That happens. And also like, if we don't win a case, people immediately accuse us of being like, oh, you screwed me. You didn't win my case, and they get mad about that too. So there's obviously in my mind there's differences between people who do it, who just are accused of it because like a jury didn't agree on a case, or an investigator or an arbitrator, whoever it was, a judge didn't agree with our narrative on a case. That's one thing, but I think there's attorneys who just take cases and take money. I can think of a couple in Queens, I can think of a couple in Manhattan, Long Island, right off the bat, who just take cases that are just they know are not going to win, and they just take money on those cases. Big money, and they can't even be bothered to take the depositions or prep for the depositions or wear clothes that fit or are clean, or just show up as like competent human beings, right? So it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating to see people running around in this industry where we're supposed to be trying to help. We're supposed to be, this is legitimately a potential means for change in society. It could be, right? And there are so many people just trying to make chump money, like little money off of clients, taking checks from clients instead of going out and trying to win that money. Like there should never be a time where the client's risk, in my opinion, is larger than the attorney's, right? Certainly like, doesn't mean you can't charge something up front because these cases are really expensive. You put a lot of money in these cases. If somebody's actually hiring you and you got to do something for the expenses, I get it. There's things to talk about. But if you're just like taking a case and you think it's junk and you're just looking to get a quick buck out of it from the client, like not okay. Not okay. So anyways, I digress. She-Wolf, I'm sorry that happened to you. That attorney sounds terrible, but I am very glad that you get to fish every day and that you are retired and living the high life. That makes me happy, and well done. Well done. If this was helpful, like and subscribe. Helps me to help more people just like you.